It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
I'm Molly Gibson Kirby, and this is City Beat. Today, Mayor Tim Johnston is in the studio to get us up to date on all things Thompson. If you have any questions, call into 677-8181 or email chtm@arcticradio.ca. To get started, Tim, what went on in Thompson this past week?
Well, it's been a very busy week in Thompson, as most residents will understand, because they were likely participating in some of the events. Last weekend, we had the YWCA hosting the Women of Distinction, and that went, from my understanding, very good. I wasn't able to attend because I was over at the Thompson Regional Community Center attending the Relay for Life. But I want to thank the volunteers of both those organizations and recognize certainly the YWCA for the Women of Distinction, and recognize the importance and the input that so many of women make in our community, and congratulate those people that were nominated and the winners. And then, of course, to the Relay for Life, it was just a phenomenal event. The goal was to raise $100,000, and they surpassed that by raising, I think, $120,000 plus, I believe, another 40 or more in gifts in kind. So just an absolutely phenomenal. I think it talks about the type of community that we are. People getting involved, people participating, people caring for each other, supporting each other, and so it was great to see those events take place. Then on April the 28th, City Council held its regular meeting. I wasn't able to attend the opening of that meeting, as I was attending the National Day of Mourning that was put on by the United Steelworkers. I want to thank Murray Nichapork, President of the United Steelworkers, as well as Kirk Regular from Valet, in terms of recognizing that important event and hosting the ceremony. I think it's very important. Sheila Thompson was the master of ceremony, did a great job, and I just think it's important that as an industrial community, and one that is growing, that we take the time to recognize that unfortunately 3 people lose their life every day as a result of accidents at work, and that's just stunning when you think about that. So I think bringing recognition and understanding and highlighting that National Day of Mourning is extremely important. And I just want to add that I believe our community is really leading in terms of addressing that challenge, that issue of ensuring that people, when they go to work, they go home safe. Programs like Safe Production, Safe Operation, by having the unions, industry, the community working together, is always so important. And I want to recognize the tremendous commitment that all those players have. In addition, on the 29th, the Aboriginal Accord stakeholders held our meeting in preparation for the upcoming National Aboriginal Day on June 21st. We'll be producing our annual Aboriginal Accord report, where each of the stakeholders talks about a success over the last year, as well as a goal for the coming year. We're going to be welcoming some new stakeholders to the Aboriginal Accord, and I think this is one of the founding documents of the community that, again, talks about our ability to grow and evolve. So very pleased to see that continuing. And then on yesterday, I had the opportunity to provide greetings at the Hope North Forum, the 5th forum that we've seen here in the community. I want to thank all the organizers, Liz Lychuk, as well as the volunteers, and most importantly, the participants, the youth that are coming in to talk about the devastation of suicide on our community in northern Manitoba. We lose our greatest resource, and that's our youth. And the challenge and the need to ensure that we are a caring community, that we're a supportive community, and that we address those real challenges that are facing people. So I thank them for their efforts. And so again, it was busy, and it's going to continue that. We're into the spring sort of transition, and of course we've got the CHTM trade show, so people are going to be out and about. I think it's great. It's time for people to get out, walk a little bit, enjoy the weather, and so it's going to be a great weekend. So those are some of the events that past and present.
During this week's City Council meeting, there was talk about water bills not being paid in the city. How big of a problem actually is that?
Well, yeah, and I understand there was a fairly long debate on that. I think that I want people to understand that we implemented the utility system based on a premise of a user pay system, so that if you're consuming that commodity, you're paying for it based on what you're using. And I think that that is the fairest way to do it. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of individuals, account holders, choose not to pay those bills, and that puts a tremendous pressure on everyone else who then has to come up with and cover that. So administration had taken a look at that. We go back to 2011, I believe it was, and when we implemented it, and we had, I believe it was 850 accounts in arrears. Administration then continued to try and work with those accounts. They sent a final notice advising that if they weren't going to be paying that, we would be moving those outstanding amounts due to the city to onto their property tax. Obviously, that's not something we want to do. We want to work with people. We did work with many people in terms of setting up payment schedules. We were successful with the that final notice, and I think 120 or more accounts were settled, so we're at about 750. And so a resolution was passed to move those two onto the property tax. I think that is the right thing to do. Again, I believe in the user pay system. If you use something, you should be paying for it, and I don't believe that other residents should have to come up with a shortfall. So to me, it's prudent, it's transparent in terms of we've tried to work, everyone gets a notice. We've understood there's been some challenges, especially in landlord-tenant relationships, so we're going to work harder with landlords to make sure they're aware. But it's often at council I hear the challenge of the city collecting on receivables. Well, this is one of the process you collect your receivables. So good debate. I think that there was a bit of a lack of understanding on the part of many on during the debate, and I think that administration and the committee was able to explain what the process was and why we're moving in this direction.
Winnipeg actually is having issues with their water bills also, and they're talking about putting them on a monthly bill instead of, I think it's 3 months. Has Thompson ever kind of thought about doing that? Because people are used to monthly bills.
Yeah. We haven't, when we implemented the program, we had considered a variety of different options. We wanted to go with the quarterly. One, because the challenge of ensuring the accuracy of bills on a monthly basis, that's more demand on your administration to go out and get those numbers, things like that. So we're certainly looking at quarterly. I think we're open to ideas that people may come up with. We certainly know that many want to pay the bill online, and we have to make sure that we have those capabilities and make it easier for people to pay that bill. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about we implemented this program in order to begin to do a replacement of our infrastructure. And anyone driving around this community, I've told people all spring that if you ever needed to take a look at why we need to improve our infrastructure, this is it. And up until the utility, we did not have a capital replacement program other than an ad hoc. In other words, if there were breaks and things like that. So this gives us the ability, but part of the expectation is that people are going to pay. And remember that when we implemented this program, we reduced the equivalent amount that was paid on the direct taxation for property and moved it over to the utility. So it's not like these payments weren't necessarily made. They may not have been made to the same amount, but certainly there was an expectation. So we're following our procedures, our policies. I thank administration for the work, and we've seen success when we've done this in the past in terms of moving it to property tax, and I believe we likely will again.
So it's springtime now. It kind of actually looks like spring outside. There's talk about a dog park in Thompson. I know that years past they've been talking about that too. What do you know about this?
Well, as of Monday night, we passed the resolution that will transform Baffin Park into a dog park. This has been one that I've heard from many residents, the desire to see an off-leash park. And so we had to change the bylaw in order to accommodate that. We're in the process of setting up Baffin Park in terms of fencing, in terms of making sure that there's proper signage, in terms of what the expectations of dog owners are with rules and regulations. And so that's a good transition in terms of, I believe, that facility. And it's in response to really what the public has been saying in terms of seeing the off-leash park. And I hope to see that up and running likely in the spring. We just have to make sure we have it all in place, and we want to make sure we've given notice to residents in the neighborhood. On the my last comment on this one is there's going to be an expectation and I think a responsibility of dog owners to ensure that they are adhering those rules and regulations in the park, because I think this is something that people have been asking for, and I'm pleased that we've been able to provide that.
Okay, so as current mayor, it is election year. What do you think the top priorities for the next mayor and council should be in Thompson?
Well, I think there's a number of priorities that still face our community. I think that first and foremost, it's the ongoing relationship with the province of Manitoba, with the lead industries, whether it's Valley, and how we forge that future together in a long-term sustainable future for this community. I think that we've done a tremendous job on that. We've been able to bring huge investment over the last number of years. I just look at UCN, the $85 million investment, but that doesn't just happen. That's a result of work, and that's a result of relationships. So I think you need to continue that. Certainly, in terms of some specific priorities that I would see, I see that the waste water sewage treatment plant is a huge issue facing this community. It will be the single largest capital expenditure. We are required to do that, and it's going to take some creative thinking and in terms of getting that done. In terms of the financing, we know it's going to be a huge expenditure for us, and we're going to need support from other levels of government, which is why the relationship is huge. For me personally, I think that there's some other projects that I want to see continue. Certainly the Burntwood Trailer Court. I want to see that done. We now have a plan in place. We're committing $600,000 as part of the 5-year plan to see that done. All you have to do is drive around the BTC right now, and you'll see drainage continues to be the issue. But where we did the pilot project, it has worked. So I'd like to see council pass a resolution approving that 5-year plan. They're only doing it on a 1-year ad hoc basis, so I think that that's huge. I think the other ones is I'd like to see improvement at the Norplex pool. We've done tremendous work at the Thompson Regional Community Center, but the one facility that still needs some work is the Norplex pool, and I'd like to see that transition from what it was built as a competitive facility to more of a family-oriented facility, perhaps an indoor water park. So I think that those are the challenges. I believe we've done a very good job on the taxation and the relationships, and we need to continue that. And of course, for me, the big one is solidifying that role of Thompson as that service center and continuing to address some of the ongoing challenges of homelessness and public safety. But I'll tell you this, we have made tremendous advancements in those areas, and I look forward to the Crime Severity Index this summer, which I think will start to show that we are moving in the right direction. I want to acknowledge the role of RCMP, Fire and Emergency Services. So there's some key issues that we're going to have to negotiate in the next number of years, including the LGD. I believe the city needs to assume the LGD. I think that's a huge discussion. I think it's in our best interest in terms of the long-term sustainability. And of course, there will be another valet grant in lieu negotiation likely in 2017. So the next 4-year period from 2014 to 2018 is a very important period for the community, and I hope people get interested. I hope that they will come forward and put their names on the ballots, and let's have a good debate. Let's have a good discussion. Elections are about providing options for the voters. So I would encourage people to get involved, outline their vision, their plan, and I think I've been pretty clear on what mine has been, and then let the voters make a decision. And I think that's what gives us the best chance of a very strong and sustainable future.
Do you plan to put your name on a ballot?
Well, I've said all along, today is the first day actually that any mayoral candidates could declare that they were interested. I've said all along that I'm in the job. I love the job. Quite frankly, Tammy and I have to have that discussion as a family and determine what's in our best interest, the best interest of the community. And I know that there's a number of factors in that. You know, I've done it for two terms. I've always believed in term limits. I'm trying to determine, is that 2 terms, is it 3 terms? And so there's still some things that I have to answer. And I also understand that, I've always believed in the Wayne Gretzky rule, which is you leave before you have to go. And so we're trying to have some dialogue with people, and we'll figure it out. I've said very clearly that I'm going to be interested to see who else is putting their names forward, especially for council, because I think it's absolutely imperative that whoever is in the chair of mayor has to be able to work with council. Everyone's elected as individuals, but you have to build consensus and you have to move forward. Not that you always have to agree. Believe me, I've always said good debate is the best thing that we can have, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to work and I think have that common vision. We've been challenged on that in the last 4 years, and I think that that's hurt us at times. So I'm going to, there's a number of factors I have to consider, but I will say this, I will make it known. And I've looked at likely between mid and the end of June that I will make it very clear what my intentions are, but I've certainly enjoyed the job. I absolutely love Thompson. I think it is a great place to live, and I think that I look forward to the discussion and encourage people to get involved, whether it's putting their name forward or ensuring that they get out and they support that vision or that plan that people have. And I would encourage people that it's important to come to the table and not just say, well, I don't like what was done here. That will last one day after the election. You got to come forward and you got to say, this is what I would do if elected. And I remember one time when I first ran for council, I was challenged by some residents who said, what are you running for? And I said, economic development. And a very good mentor of mine at the time said, that's not enough. You can't come on one issue. You have to come on the greater sense of the understanding of the community overall and what you plan to do. So I'm proud of the record I've had. We're going to consider what I'm going to do. And as I said, I'll let people know likely, or absolutely before the end of June.
Perfect. The snow is leaving and the grass is coming. When does the city plan to start kind of cleaning up and having a spring cleanup?
Well, I was very pleased. We had people on the street. I think as the snow was melting off some of the medians, we had people out. And what amazed me was how dry they were, that we were able to get the sweepers on them. But, obviously we're a few weeks behind, and we've had to adjust our spring cleanup program. Normally it runs from the 1st of May to the end of May. We're going to sort of adjust that a little bit. We're going to run it from May 12th to June 9th. Some of the programs that people are very familiar will be back. Obviously, $3 per bag of garbage will be offered during that period. We've got the e-waste set up again. We've got the composting site. We're going to have the community cleanup on May 24th and the business cleanup on May 23rd. Encourage people to get out. I will readily admit the city doesn't look great today. I mean, all that sand we put down now has to be picked up, and it's going to take some real effort. And again, the frustration for me is just the garbage, the amount of garbage that's in and around the community. There's just no excuse for it. I can tell you that our outdoor area attendant, Daniel, is on the street as of this morning, and our second person will start on Monday. And we absolutely have to do it. We have to get up and pick up the garbage that's there. But I'll tell you this, I have a higher expectation of residents and visitors that they aren't throwing garbage on the ground. And so I encourage everyone to get out, help us out. Let's take pride in the community. It's a great place. We can get it looking so good, and we can only do that if people are working together.
All right, well, Tim, we've run out of time, so I'll give your listeners and you some time to say goodbye.
Well, just the last couple quick comments. One is, as I said, we're on the streets. We've got loaders. We've got sweepers. Please take care in around that equipment, and we would appreciate the cooperation and the support of residents in terms of getting out and helping us. And, of course, I have to remind people again, don't think because the weather's changing that we still don't have the freezing pipe issue. Encourage people to pay close attention to that. And just lastly, I just want to advise that I have proclaimed the month of May as MS Awareness Month in the city of Thompson. They're going to be hosting an MS Walk. I believe it's May 25th. And so people should plan for that. Knights of Columbus is coming up, I believe, May 9th. So lots of good things happening, and encourage people to get out, enjoy the community, and all the best for the coming week.
Well, thank you. This is it for this edition of City Beat. Join us again next Thursday for more questions and answers with the mayor. For 102.9 CHTM, I'm Molly Gibson Kirby.
City